Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It's Monday morning. It is 9:22 in the AM here in Los Angeles, and we're going to take a first look at an NBA lineup on Draftkings for tonight's slate. There's 9 games on the slate. We got a lot of value out there. We've got some players that are injured. We've got some players that have been suspended based on the Rondo's CP3 fight, which is opening up some value on the Los Angeles Lakers, which is going to allow us to pay for the studs that we want and need in our lineups. I think it's a great night for tournaments. It's going to be a night where cash games are, I think, easy to make a cash game lineup this evening. Easier than it has been a little bit because the value hasn't really opened up before, but NBA value kind of opens up along the lines, along the days on a day-to-day basis. Whenever you get players that are either injured, that miss for suspension or whatever else, because players are priced based on their minutes played. Minutes equals money. Their minutes times their fantasy point production per minute basically gives you what their fantasy production is going to be for a per game basis. They're priced on that. So when you get a player that plays 15 minutes a game or 20 minutes a game, that all of a sudden is now thrust into a position where they're going to play 30 or 35 minutes a game, their value goes through the roof on a per dollar basis, and they become a great cash game play and a very highly owned tournament play. For those of you who are new, thank you for finding the channel. I would love to see you again. Make sure that you click that subscribe button before you get out of here. This video is only live for a few hours because as soon as lineup tips off this evening, as soon as NBA tips off this evening, it's done. So click like on this video. Let's make sure it gets in front of as many eyes as possible. Be sure you ring that notifications bell so that you can be notified every time that I publish a new NBA or NFL video throughout the season. Let's take a bigger look here at DraftKings. They've got a ton of tournaments in the lobby today. This is just the excellent 8s. 100K to first, $425,000 prize pool. Right on the top, Giannis Antetokounmpo doing kind of what we thought he would do, just mashing it with rebounds right now. Not like a 10-11 game per game rebound rate. Right now he's 18 and 15 over the first 2 games. Over 50, middle 50s points, high 50s points in each one of his games so far, but you're going to have to pay for him at 11.1K. I think he's going to be extremely popular this evening. Obviously one of the best players on the slate. And on a per dollar basis, you can just say, you know what, I'm going to lock up my 50 to 60 points. I'm going to let you figure out where to make those up in your lineups with all these other dudes that are on the slate. Obviously, LeBron James, one of the best players in the history of the game, one of the best fantasy players in the history of the game. He may have to take on a little bit more of the ball handling load tonight with Rajon Rondo out. He has been fine in the first couple of games, but did not post a ceiling game yet. With him with the ball in his hands more, I think that we could see more of the Cleveland LeBron where he's penetrating and dishing to some of the shooters around the outside. That the Lakers have on this team that are not suspended. Obviously, Ingram going to be suspended and Rondo going to be suspended for this game, so that gives LeBron a little bit more ball handling responsibility, so the assist rate could climb a little bit. We might see a triple-double threat out of him at home against San Antonio. They're not the same defensive team that they were before. Obviously, losing Kawhi Leonard gives them one less body to throw at LeBron James to try and slow him down. Danny Green also gone there, 2 of their best defensive players from previous seasons. So I think this might be a spot to get on LeBron at a price that might be a little bit lower than it, it's come down. It was 10.8, it was 10.7, it's 10.5 now. If you play NFL, we're not really that sensitive to pricing for every $100 or $200 in salary where a guy goes up or down. We're more worried about thousands in salary than hundreds in salary. In NBA, hundreds in salary can mean a huge difference. Being able to fit one more guy or one less guy, you really have to be a lot more price sensitive in NBA than you have to in NFL. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, you know that they're going to get shots up, scoring the number 1 correlation. The problem for me is knowing when they're going to have one of these huge nights versus one of these mediocre nights. Phoenix does play at a fast pace. What's the total on this game right now? And you get the hammer. This is a late game. Golden State favored by 12.5. Over-under of 227.5 on this one. Obviously, scoring going to be really high here, as it is basically on every game tonight. You've got Orlando and Boston with a 209 total. Charlotte, Toronto. Man, Kemba's been amazing so far with a 225. 226 for Indy, Minnesota. 225 for the Knicks and Milwaukee. Scoring just way up this year and all the way through this slate. There's just every game has like a 220 to 230 total. So it's not like Golden State standing out in that aspect, right? Where in previous years, they were the highest total game on the slate, had the highest team total. You expected the most points. People are going to fade Durant tonight, in my opinion, based on the fact that this could turn into a blowout. Think about it this way. There's a couple of ways that Golden State can cover. They could be up 30 points at the end of the third, in which case Durant and Curry are not going to play in the fourth quarter tonight, right? That's one way that it could go. Another way that it could go is Phoenix kind of keeps this close and competitive, and it's 9 points throughout the entire third quarter, which means that Curry and Durant play their full rotations in the fourth quarter, which means more scoring opportunities, more shots, more rebounds, more assist opportunities, and maybe they still cover at the end and win by 14 or 15, and those guys don't go out there. So yeah, there is blowout risk here, but I think that people sometimes tend to overweight blowout risk in those sorts of games. Kawhi Leonard, another play that's still underpriced. Right? We saw LeBron James in his game logs and what he's averaging per game. And you see Kawhi Leonard, what he's averaging per game. And I talked about being very sensitive about saving hundreds, but what about saving 15 or 1,700 and getting the same sort of supply? Kawhi Leonard not going to double-double every single game. That's just not what he's going to do. He's not going to average 11.5 rebounds a game. But getting 8 rebounds a game, getting 3-4 assists a game, and realize that his hustle stats have not been there so far. 1 steal plus block in the first 2 games. That's going to change with a player that's as aggressive defensively as he is. I love that he's getting over 20 shots per game for Toronto. And obviously his minutes are going to be steady. Kawhi Leonard at 8,800, probably a core play for me tonight. Damian Lillard, we haven't really touched on him at all. But just dynamic scorer, another cheap play. I love him for tournaments. He gives you 60-point upside with a 40-point floor just because he's going to score 25 to 30 points pretty much every night. Then it's a matter of, does he double-double with assists? Can he chip in with a couple of steals and blocks? So the way that I build these lineups on this show, I'm not going to give you a full lineup on NBA shows because everything changes in NBA. You have to be at your workstation the final 30 minutes before lock. As news breaks, and news will break, this is not the NFL where things have to be in and inactives are sorted and dusted up 90 minutes before lineups lock and you have everything. It's not MLB, it's not baseball, where you get every team's lineup and you know where they're going to be hitting and everything's locked in and you know the pitchers from the day before, so you can basically figure out which guys hit well against right-handed pitching and left-handed pitching. Everything can change in the drop of a hat. A player can be ruled out with 10 minutes before lock, and it changes the entire complexion of the slate because a player's minutes will change, usage rates change, combinations change, everything else presents different value, and you have to be willing and able to pivot on a dime in NBA. So we talk about 3 value plays that I like here in the morning, and then we're going to get to 2 of the plays that I want to kind of jam into my lineups after that. And the first guy that we need to talk about is Luka Doncic. The rookie has been just playing a ton of minutes. We saw the same thing that we talked about on the last NBA show that I did with Trey, playing a ton of minutes and getting a ton of shots. Same situation with Luka. 16 shots a game the first 2 games. I absolutely love that. The ball's in his hands. He's going to chip in with rebounds. He's going to get you some assists. Very high IQ player. Does not look athletically overwhelmed, as we kind of thought he would not look athletically overwhelmed based on the level that he was playing at in Europe. He's been playing against grown men at a younger age. I'm totally fine plugging in Luka Doncic at 6,800 here. He's not a pure value play, but I think he's one of the best value plays on the slate on a per dollar basis, squaring off against Chicago here. I want him in my lineups. That's the first place I'm going to go. Second place we're going to go, Kyle Kuzma, 5,500. The first couple of games, 25 and 29 minutes. You've heard me say this. If you've watched me do NBA for the last few years, minutes equals money. We know that Ingram is out for a suspension. We know that Rondo is out for a suspension. And what I thought in the offseason was the player that would benefit most from having LeBron James in the lineup if he got significant run would be Kyle Kuzma, based on how good he is with the ball out of his hands on offense. He moves very well, finds the open spot around the three-point line, and is a great catch-and-shoot shooter, as we saw in Summer League 2 years ago, as we saw last year on drives from his teammates. He can initiate scoring opportunities for himself, but I really feel that his best attribute playing with a LeBron James type player is his ability to move without the ball and slide and glide around the three-point line to find the open spot. And LeBron James, one of the best players in the history of the NBA for delivering the right pass at the right time and in the shooting pocket for somebody who knows how to move around the outside. Kyle Kuzma tonight should see a bump in minutes because of the suspensions that are out there for the Lakers. Expect, instead of 26 or 27 minutes, I'm expecting 33 to 36 minutes from Kyle Kuzma tonight. Those extra minutes and the ability to play with LeBron James, who should have the ball in his hands more tonight than in the first couple of games as well, to me means that Kuzma's going to get a ton of really good looks around the outside. I expect him to knock down a few of those. And at 5,500, he's just too cheap. I'm going to go off a little bit on this last one. Frank Ntilikina, to me, I'm expecting closer to those 30 minutes against Milwaukee. Don't need much here. Looking for 22 to 25 fantasy points. He settled there 2 times so far this year in those first 2 games at 4,100 for the minutes that I'm expecting. 27 to 32 minutes probably out of him this evening instead of that 19 minutes he played against Boston. I think that this is a great spot to get Frank into your lineups. Can we slide Luka down? No, he's just a point guard. I was going to say, is he shooting guard, point guard? Also point guard only. Which is going to lead us to our next few plays, the guys that we want, the 2 big studs. DeAndre Ayton also at 6,800. You could just play a bunch of the rookies tonight, I think are definitely in play. But looking at a couple of the studs that we want this evening, I said it before, I'll say it again, give me LeBron James. Plug in LeBron James tonight for me. Lakers at home against San Antonio. He loves playing against San Antonio. I don't think that they're as good defensively as they used to be. I think this is a night where you can really hope for a 50 to 60 point game out of LeBron James instead of a 40 to 45 point game out of LeBron James. I love when he's got the ball in his hands more. Usage rate goes up, assist rate goes up, more focused offense for him as well. I think that Lance Stephenson also is in play for the Lakers this evening, as his minutes should go up as well. And give me Kawhi Leonard again. Plug him in at shooting guard. We spoke about him already. At 8,800, just too good of a play, right? Just too good of a player and too good of a play for me. If we want to go stars and scrubs, we're going to have to find some lower price guys. They may open up as the slate goes on. We have 4,700 remaining per player for a center, a forward, and a utility. 1 value, 2 mid-range can get you there. If you want to go a little bit lower on one of those 2 value plays, that's fine. But this is where I see things kind of shaking out this evening. That's going to be my start for the lineups. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.